What's up again, my friends? How's it going? Let's have a real talk. I hope my camera doesn't die on me because I've been having issues, so I've been using my GoPro, but I really love this camera a lot more. So I'm going to use it. First off, I want to say that, I tried to start this video a while ago, and I got a few minutes into it, and I just couldn't do it because I was trying to put on a face and act like, namaste, my friends, my star seeds. I really don't want to offend anyone. I'm rather have a purpose for making these videos. And the reason why I'm attacking this 5-dimensional quantum bullshit, if you will, is just because so many people use this as for what they call spiritual bypassing, which is a way of shirking our responsibilities as individuals, not responsibilities societally working or, but rather being reasonable in the way we handle situations. When we try to ignore the reality of the world that we're in, it doesn't allow us to live fully. And eventually a person realizes that's not the way to live. And I'm going to explain what I mean by this 5D reality, 5-dimensional, the idea that humans are shifting into a new dimension. This is nothing new. New Age beliefs have been common for a long time. And let me just be honest, around the year 2012, I wasn't necessarily pulled in, but I did have I was very into studying cymatics and frequencies, how they relate to human consciousness, our purpose on the planet, and connecting with the ether, meditation, things like that. And 10 years later, I've had a lot of time to really ponder these things and realize that we go in, cycles, if you will, of when we think we have a handle on truth, we think we have a handle on what it means to be human, it just slips away. The idea that, for a while you say, eating meat is horrible, I'll never eat meat again. And then eventually, okay, just got to be responsible, not eat burgers for lunch and dinner every day, right? There's so many different things that we believe are good and bad, and I find it to be complete nonsense once it's put under the microscope. Now, there are some things that are inherently evil in the eyes of almost all humans. Things like, abuse, murder for no reason, the way we treat children, women. In some places, it's just horrendous. But overall, most of the things that we believe might be morally reprehensible, like eating meat, or perhaps using even a word that we consider to be racist or hateful, those don't do anything to solve our bigger problems because, humans have always eaten meat. People have always said dumb things. But there is a kind of this thing about in the spiritual community, when you look at these gurus, there's always these same, some people talk about it just accepting things the way they are. I'm talking about the folks who believe that thinking positive all the time is going to solve your problems. And I've been through that too. I've tried that for a long period of time. That might work if you can isolate yourself for a while, but it doesn't work, when you're in a war zone. Thinking positive is different than changing the way you perceive what's happening. In other words, thinking positive is fine. That's like the way I live my life, but I don't ignore the facts of what's really going on. That some people are just the way they are. It's not necessarily an evil entity or a spirit or an alien. Now, there's others who even believe saying fuck or shit, using bad language is somehow harmful. You rarely hear these gurus use bad words. They speak calm, cool, and collected, and people respect what they say. There's one guy named Sadhguru, and there are several others. He's just the one who's on YouTube all the time, and I haven't listened to a whole lot of his stuff, but enough to know where he's coming from, and that he's pretty much full of shit, in my opinion, like most of these guys. In fact, one of the realest gurus would be a guy like Tony Robbins, who, even though he's a millionaire, at least lays it out like it is. The guy's a douchebag too. That's the point. They all are. People love Eckhart Tolle or Tolle. I think he's dry and boring, but that's just my opinion. And I'm not trying to be superior here. This is where I'm coming from. It's hard to talk shit about these spiritual communities without people coming down on you and saying, well, hey man, these people are just trying to help others. Something I get. But look, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy right here, my name's Joshua. We've created these jokes about, people have be like, did you know that Joshua is actually, somebody said, it's Yahweh. It goes back to Yahweh, which is the original name of Jesus, or Yeshua, if you will. If you go back further, it's Yod He Vav He, actually. So it's not like the name means anything. But people see a guy with blonde hair and blue eyes and say, oh, you look like Jesus. It's really annoying, actually, because Jesus probably didn't have blonde hair or blue eyes. But maybe he did. I don't know. It's not my place to even say or really care. The point I want to make is that if I wanted to capitalize on this, I could say, oh, I'm the second coming of Jesus. And most people would just be like, you're totally full of shit. But there would be enough people following to where I could probably start my own group, my own belief system, my own cult or spiritual practice. And sometimes the lines can be, it's difficult to draw lines between what you would consider a spiritual practice and what you would consider a religion. In other words, when I was talking about meat and how you realize at one point, oh, it's not so bad. This isn't for everyone, obviously. The same thing, I read this article about a guy who said that he went through this period where, he used to love the Dark Tower series of books. And then once he believed he was awakened, he couldn't read them anymore. He hated violence, and all of a sudden he couldn't stand cursing. He just found it to be low vibration, right? And then 10 years after that, after processing, realized he loves them again. It's because he'd gone through that cycle of trying to repress the reality that there are darknesses in the world, and it's in each one of us to some degree. So the clean image is nonsense, and that's why I say the clean image of a guru is bullshit. If they can't address their inner selves, they're not really addressing what it means to be human. So we go through these cycles of what we think is real. But spirituality can be a trap. The same trap as religion, wanting to fit in by wearing the right clothes. That's why I'm dressed the way I am with this necklace and everything for the video. But then I thought, well, this is how I dress anyway. I was way into, hippy dippy shit and spirituality, and I still am. So that's why I feel like I'm very well versed to talk about these things, because it's not like I'm looking from the outside with no idea what chakras are or no idea what reincarnation is. I've looked at all the stories. I spent years trying to convince myself that there was something that I could understand that was greater. But the one thing that I came away with was what I consider my own enlightenment, which was that not just that God is everywhere and God is everything, or to accept the truth, which are important, but to realize that there is no one truth, but that there is a God, not in the God of the Bible or any religion, but an all-encompassing energy that permeates everything around us, including empty space. We can't see every energy field. We can't see every reality or every truth out there, and we never will. But I convinced myself through my own studies into science and, speculation as well, of course, to create my own philosophy that God is everything, but that, yes, we have a huge purpose and no purpose in this universe. Everything happens because it happens, but it's unfolding. There's no way there can't be a greater force, a blueprint for society, not for society, but for nature, rather. Not society. That was our choice. That's the free will line where humans decided. But beyond that, nature does what it does, and nature always adjusts. There's symbiosis, and it works. for some reason. So I've created my own, I didn't create a religion, but rather I've developed my own beliefs through my own research, not through what others have told me. My version of God is unique to everyone else's. But I don't believe in these higher dimensions that people speak of as being relevant to this lifetime or, So we have these moments of clarity where we see things clearly, think we have it all figured out, and then they change. And it takes time for us to see that change, for us to realize we have changed our opinions. The conclusion I came to is this. Education is enlightenment. About a year and a half ago, I wrote out just pages and pages of notes and things I was going to read. I was going to make this long podcast before I even started my podcast about enlightenment. And in the end, the conclusion that we don't know shit. And that every time you have it figured out, you should realize that you can't use a superiority card or think that, well, these people are just vibrating at a lower frequency, or these people are heathens, or these people are sinners. It does nothing. It's escapism. And I feel the same way about things like channeling. There's numerology. You know how somebody always says that on this date, 5/5, or 12/12, or 12/21, 2012, which actually did correlate with the Mayan calendar, which was fascinating, but 12/21 is the solstice, so it makes sense. And the thing was, they understood, that astronomy, and we, I think, buy way too much into it. Nobody ever said it was going to be the end of the world. But to this day, a lot of people are still using these numbers and thinking they mean anything. Well, all these dates we have are based on the Gregorian calendar. All of them. I mean, when people say it's 11/11, you're like, so what? That's some mundane leap year bullshit with, where days have been adjusted and lost during the period of Caesar. We don't know what a date really even means. But we are so desperate as humans to create meaning that there's whole groups around dates that believe that 11/11 or 12/12 or 5/5 is going to mean something for society, and that if we can just read the runes, read the stones, look into your astrology charts, that you're going to solve some problem in your life, which if that works for people, I say great. But there's an old saying, an old Zen quote, Buddhist quote, my favorite one. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And when you get the meaning of that one, that's all you need to know about truth, in parentheses or in quotations, or any type of spiritual practice. As soon as you think you're there, there's more to do. There's more work. And that's what life is all about. That is the key. That is, in my opinion, enlightenment. But to get there, you have to be educated and aware. That's why I said that I believe education is enlightenment. I'm not talking about doing your math equations and getting A's in school. I'm talking about true education, meaning you spend at least some of your time learning about things, not just reading media articles or listening to other people tell you the truth, but really digging deep, hearing stories, but also looking into graphs and figures and numbers and trying to get a grasp as much as we can on what's going on around us. Science to me is fascinating. Science is more mystical and amazing and enlightening than any of these, robes or crystals or chakras or any of this shit that I've found. It doesn't mean that I haven't looked. It just means that those things are short term. When people talk about an awakening or a Kundalini awakening, for example, it's just an idea, but it's short term. It doesn't really bring you closer to the truth. The same way I feel about, for example, dimethyltryptamine or DMT. People say it gave them a breakthrough. And I said, well, maybe it showed you that there's something deeper in your mind or a deeper awareness, just like psychedelics, which I am well versed in all psychedelics. And I've had a great time and learned a lot about myself and the world. But I also realized that those things are already there. Psychedelics don't give you a truth. When I was young, we used to think, Are we tapping into some universal truth when we take it? Do our brains vibrate at a different frequency? And for a long time I believed that was possible. Now I believe that really what it does is it allows your brain to communicate. And science has shown me this. It shuts down your frontal cortex and allows the rest of your brain to communicate, thereby overcoming these boundaries which allow us to think deeper and understand things we already knew. Enlightenment isn't learned. It's stripping away the layers of the onion to get down to the bottom. But just like an onion, you get to the center and there's nothing left. Chop wood, carry water. The thing is, a lot of times when we think we've had a breakthrough, it's unfortunately psychosis or a problem that means mental problem that needs to be dealt with. And I'm saying this because a lot of people, I'm concerned for people because I've had people in my life who I had to help and care for who went through a psychotic episode that lasted a couple months, and it was scary. And it was brought on by psychedelics, but other ones, friends I've had have had the same thing happen just in, because they're at a certain age. It usually happens around the early 20s, but that's also the time when a lot of people fall into a lot of these spiritual practices because they're looking for answers. So if you found one that works for you, that's great. I'm not here to insult that. I'm saying be aware that if people are asking for money, they better be teaching something that's worth learning. And a lot of these courses are complete nonsense. I get emails every day from a 5D quantum website. I could probably pull one up and read it for you right now. But if there's anything that I've found valuable, because obviously we're not monks, we can't meditate in a temple our whole lives, and I found that to be pretty silly too. We're human beings that work and live, but in our lives, the best we can do is try to use mental alchemy to see things in the most positive light possible without ignoring the negatives, because the negatives are what drive us. It's our pain, it's our suffering that pushes us forward, that makes us succeed. If we think we're channeling aliens, we might want to wonder if we're, schizophrenic perhaps. But who am I to say? Maybe it's true. So far, the evidence that I've found is rather lacking. And in the digital age, I guess a good metaphor would be, where are all the UFO and ghost photos, in 2021? Everyone carries a phone and a camera all the time, There are a lot of beliefs that we want to hold as humans, and I'm not here to tell you not to have them. Because if they work for you, that's great. But always analyze. And I'll tell you, a lot of folks may think it's kind of like maybe the atheist mentality, like, how can you not believe in these things and still be happy, because there is enough around us to be wondrous about without having to create our own reality. And those things we can understand and get along with. So to me, God is nature, going out in the woods and enjoying a day, a walk in the woods or a day with a friend. And that's the most spiritual thing I can imagine, even if I am eating a steak by the campfire or doing some drugs or having a heathenist moment, whatever it might be. Everybody's got their own thing that they do. And we can't fault people for what they do, so long as nobody's harmed. So like I said, this is just my opinion, the things that I've found. And I guess the reason that I give that disclaimer is because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I honestly, if people have found that they believe that they hold power through a crystal or that a class is helping them, I think that's great. But just to be aware that you might change your mind later, and that's okay. And that really everything we need is right in here. We just have to, anybody who's worthy of teaching us, all the best teachers I've heard, they've never tried to sell me a thing. They always say it comes from within. Even like Ram Dass or Terence McKenna talking about psychedelics. Or Joseph Campbell speaking about the mythology and the hero's journey. They're all amazing. And those are the gurus, the real gurus. They're not feeding you bullshit. Alan Watts is perhaps the best guru, in my opinion, in Western history, because he said it like it was. There was enough of his videos and audio to, last people a while, and he had a good time with it. He was a human being. He didn't act like he was superior or better. That's what I think a guru is. And I think true spirituality can be found at somebody wearing a Guns N' Roses shirt with a mullet at a rock concert, shooting off fireworks in the middle of the night. It's found everywhere. It's not determined by how you look or whether your backdrop has some crazy cosmic. So many videos that I've perused before, in the past, and before making videos like this, just to kind of get a grasp on what people are saying about shifting and quantum consciousness. They're, oh, hey, starseeds, brothers and sisters, welcome back. It's like, look, get real, people. Get fucking real. Use a normal voice. But if that is your normal demeanor, so be it. But you can tell that a lot of them are just putting on this act. And the comment sections are always flooded with just garbage. People who want to believe so bad that they're willing to spend thousands of dollars on shit that doesn't work. Classes that are total bogus. And those are my thoughts on it. So I'm not going to talk about this for a while, so I thought I'd get it all out now. So be sure that you check out my... if you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon. If you want to check out my podcast, it's called 15 Minute Free Thinking. And if you'd like to donate to the Starseed Fund, you can donate a minimum of $750, and then you get a 1-hour course where you can learn about yourself and your purpose in the universe. Because you can't find it yourself. You have to take this course to find your purpose. That's a joke, of course. Yeah, be well, my friends. I'll talk to you next time. And be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm sure people will. Peace.